Hey everyone, I'm Julia. Welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to do something a little bit different. Last week I had the opportunity to be on a panel for an NBAA webinar. If you're not familiar, NBAA is the National Business Aviation Association. Through most of the pandemic, NBAA has been doing these NewsHour webinars with different focuses of different things each week. And this past week, it was Women in BizAv Being Bold. I was so honored to be asked to be on this panel. And a little background, this group of women was actually on a panel together at the Women in Aviation Conference this past March. At the Women in Aviation Conference, our panel was about business aviation and dispelling the myths about it. So it was more informational, and the audience was the conference attendees. People from all different backgrounds pursuing different areas of aviation, or students who were curious about different areas of aviation. The NBAA NewsHour had a slightly different focus. So this panel was more focused on being bold and having a group of women who had leadership positions within business aviation kind of explain how we got to our positions and give advice to the young women coming up in business aviation now, or to just young people in general who are considering careers in business aviation. I know not everyone could attend live last Friday at 10 a.m., but that's why I wanted to make this video. So I've worked with NBAA to be able to include in this video some clips and highlights from the webinar for you to be able to enjoy and hopefully get something out of. The webinar was an hour long, and I obviously am not going to include the entire thing, but the link is down below in the description if you're interested. The other women involved in the webinar all have very impressive bios, and I'll include those in the description down below as well.
Thank you, Alex, and thank you everyone for joining us today for Women in BizAv Being Bold. What does being bold mean to you?
Yeah, to me, being bold is really about being unafraid to take a seat at the table and go after your goals with tenacity, and not really letting being the first stop you from wanting to move forward with those goals. At my first charter flying job, I was the first woman they had hired full-time. But now, not only do they have numerous women on their full-time staff at my old company, they, a few months ago, had their first all-female crew. So it was a female captain and first officer. Considering, paying it forward, and you never know what doors that can open for the future and what greatness can follow. And yeah, at my current company, I believe I was also the first full-time female pilot. They had other contract pilots, but they didn't have a uniform available for female pilots. So I had to do the research and find the right polo cut for the women's, but for a few weeks I was flying with men's cut polos. You have to be adaptable, and I think that's also part of being bold.
I think it's interesting that so really both of your companies, you've been the first woman to be there or to be full-time, but pretty quickly after you assumed that role, then other women started joining. Do you think that you being there encouraged other women to apply, or do you think it helped just change maybe the mindset at your company?
Yeah, I think that's definitely possible. I do really think I've worked with some incredible managers, and I think that at my first company, there definitely was a barrier to be broken down, and they had some kind of old school ways of thinking. I know the president of that flight department was concerned about bringing on a woman and what the guys' wives would think, which is just too old school for these modern times. So once that barrier was broken down, I know that flight department has benefited greatly from having a more diverse staff. At my current company, though, I feel like I was welcomed with open arms and also very much encouraged to pursue my potential. And really, I think that they were ready. They were already ready to accept women within their group and within their leadership. And it's been a really great team to work with.
Something I've really learned throughout my career is that, I have to be an advocate for myself. So I can't sit around and wait for someone to give me an opportunity, and while as women, being empathetic is a great leadership quality and caring about others is a great leadership quality, you also have to be like, I'm going to put myself first for a moment here so that I can help others down the road.
Well, to me, being bold means being curious and just kind of constantly questioning and learning. So having the courage to kind of take on new things that are not quite known to you, not familiar, and just having a positive mindset about that.
But I think it's also embracing who you are. And I think as a woman, one of the things is, it's okay to be feminine and a mechanic. It's okay if you can wear your heels, keep your rubber-soled shoes in a bag, but it's one of those things is be comfortable and be comfortable with who you are. Don't change who you are. If you're not comfortable in heels, don't wear heels. But if you are, own it. Own who you are. Do what you're going to do. And I'm more of a timid type person. I'm not a in your face person, but I found ways that works for me and works with what I'm going to do. And it's about being me, being bold, and being confident in who that is. But at the same time, growing. Gotta grow and go for it. I mean, I'm definitely not the same person 20 years ago when I was sitting there talking to mechanics that I am today. And I appreciate that. And so many people along the way have helped me understand that and be me, but let's be the best version of me and what I can do.
Each of you has progressed in your careers incredibly quickly. And so I'm curious, what's the boldest move you've made to get where you are today? Julia, we'll start with you.
Yeah, for me, this is pretty recent within the last few years development. My boldest move was advocating for myself in my current position to be selected to be the lead captain and base manager of our Chicago-based operation. I was the most senior, so I had been with the company the longest in terms of the pilot group that they were selecting amongst within the Chicago base. However, I had no technical prior experience holding such a leadership role within an official organization, a company. I had some nonprofit experience. I was the president of the Chicago chapter of Women in Aviation International for 2 years. Mm-hmm. But within a job role, I had never truly proven that I really deserved it. And so I feel like it was very bold to say, I think I deserve this opportunity to prove that I can do this and I am capable and willing to learn, and also willing to utilize the leadership skills I've learned from other areas of my life and apply them to this. Kind of the idea of I've been waiting for this opportunity for so long, and that's why I deserve it, and I deserve the opportunity to prove myself. And yeah, advocating for myself in that role was intimidating, but it's one of those things where, men will apply for a position if they qualify to like 20% of the job listings or something like that, and women until they qualify for 100%. And I think that we should throw that out the window and, argue that we deserve a chance to prove ourselves.
What's your advice to someone who's listening to this and saying, wow, there's a job open that I should go for? It can be intimidating, especially if you don't meet 100% of the qualifications. Being rejected is hard. But what advice would you give to someone who's in that position about how to make that ask and present themselves?
That's a good question. I think you have to believe it from within. I think that if you believe that you deserve that opportunity, that can show itself in the way that you interview. And to even go backward, you have to apply to be considered. So many times we take ourselves out of the running before, we've even been denied. Don't deny yourself an opportunity just because you think they're going to say no, because you don't know. And if you get to the interview phase and you get to talk to people, that's when you can really let your passion shine and, don't be intimidated by the fact that you don't necessarily qualify on paper, because paper, your previous qualifications aren't what you want. Those aren't your goals. That's, where you've been. And I think you can structure a good argument for reaching for a higher position based on where you've been and maybe the things that you've done outside of work to stretch yourself and become a person that is qualified. for those more reach positions.
I think Julia is right. Being and asking, and this is a little just kind of comment on what she said, is the interview process and what you're doing. Unless you practice and you put yourself out there, you're not going to get that confidence. And every interview, you don't have to make a decision until they make you an offer. So might as well put yourself out there and get the practice, because you don't know what they're going to ask. And every time it might either show something that you can grow on or allows you to really expand on on something that's not on the paper.
Thinking about the question, I don't think there was any one big moment that I felt like I was bold at something, but it was like a gradual adjustment to how I needed to change the way I approach people. Like, I think we've all had this experience as a woman. You're with another colleague, and the colleague might be male. He may not be at the same level as you, but he gets the initial first handshake, and that's like a very small thing. But I've realized, understanding how society has been and how we need to change it, I need to be the one to put my hand up first and say, "Hi, I'm Jessie Naor. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of this company. Great to meet you." You have to sometimes take that first step and set the tone and say, "Yeah, this is how we're going to do this moving forward." And it's something small, but those tiny, bold moments over and over and over again, as you adapt and you learn, that's how you really get to where you want to be.
Tell me about mentorship in your career and how that experience has helped you pay it backwards to the next generation.
It cannot be overstated how important it can be to find people to cheer you on or to give you advice. Within business aviation, I have found the most encouragement as I've progressed and kind of put myself out there and meeting other people who are further along in their careers or at similar places but have had different experiences. This panel of women who I've gotten to know over the last few months, being on the Young Professionals Council with NBAA, being so inspired and encouraged by those people. Going back to the beginning of my career, the one person who really encouraged me every step of the way was actually Patty Wagstaff. And I met her at an air show when I was 8 years old, and I emailed her like that following fall, and I said, "I want to be you when I grow up. How do I do that?" And she responded to my emails, really took me under her wing, and I think I just had the right mixture of putting myself out there and just, saying, "Hey, can I pick your brain about things?" And her willingness to meet me halfway in that was the most special relationship I could have imagined. She's helped me with scholarship applications, with being a reference on jobs and just different things like that. And I really can't calculate how valuable that's been in my life.
And I think it's really amazing to see, so you're 8, you reach out to this aviation celebrity, and not only does she respond back, but she builds a friendship with you. And that's a credit to aviation and women in business aviation for sure.
Absolutely. And Patty Wagstaff you all should know if you don't, but she has been a champion for women in aviation and also has been a champion for girls in aviation and really bolstering young people who are interested in any field of aviation. And so, to have someone of that stature really want to be a mentor to some random kid just speaks to how cool a lot of the women that are in aviation who have accomplished so many things, how cool they are and how willing they are to pay it forward. And that definitely has inspired me. I work with the mentorship program with our local Women in Aviation chapter and mentor a couple of young women. It's so rewarding, and I always make time for it because you never know how impactful your influence can be on people. And sometimes I do struggle with, am I qualified enough to tell these people what to do? But it's
yes, you are.
But even just the encouragement and the positivity can mean so much to people, even if you don't have all the answers.
To close this out with a quote from the late Justice Ginsburg. She said, "What's the difference between a New York Garment District bookkeeper and a Supreme Court justice?" And her answer was 1 generation. So business aviation can get there too. We still have work to do, but I'm so impressed with all of our panelists today, and we've had an outstanding turnout to this session, which is just proof that there is and has been an incredible amount of change and growth in the industry, which makes business aviation stronger.
I hope you enjoyed that highlight reel from the webinar last Friday. If you have any questions about business aviation or how I got to where I'm at in my career, leave them in the comments down below. I'd love to answer, and I'm an open book. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
Pilot Julia is everywhere, so you just need to go find Pilot Julia, and it's great. She needs some followers, guys, so we can get her a Pilot Julia YouTube channel there.